Hey, seventh grade. So today is our first day of our practice with our reading tag because we're preparing for our STAR test in 4 weeks. We have 3 weeks to prepare because we take our STAR test in 4 weeks. So make sure you pay attention. So our focus today is what strategies we need and what skills we need to master the STAR test. What strategies do we need and what skills do we need? For our agenda, you're going to watch this video, you're going to do your practice, you're going to get your feedback, you're going to revise work if you need to, and you're going to take your exit ticket. It is important that you let us know when you are done with your classwork before you take your exit ticket, because we may have you go back and check some of your work. So make sure you let us know when you're done with your classwork. Don't start your exit ticket until we say go. So for our strategy that we need to know for our STAR test is PRQAP. So we are going to preview the text. We're going to read our passage and write our gist. That is a non-negotiable. You must read and write your gist. We're going to look at our questions. We're going to answer our questions, and we're going to prove our answers with text evidence. This is a non-negotiable. You must prove your answers. We are going to be focusing on these two skills, main idea and context clues. Main idea is when you are looking at the important idea of the text. Your main idea is your gist. Your gist is the important parts of the text. It's the important parts of your paragraph or the section you're reading, and that's what your main idea is. Your main idea is the beginning, middle, and end. It should include some stuff from the beginning, middle, and end of what you read. Your context clues are clues that are around an unknown word, and these clues help you learn what that word means. These clues are around the word. They can be in the sentence before or in the sentence after. When you have these questions and you're in doubt, just look the word up. Some of them give you a definition and they give you a little dictionary, and some of them you have to find the definition. Let's use these strategies and skills in our work today. So let's go to our assignment for today. So one thing I'm going to do automatically is I'm going to go ahead and write down what my strategy is that I'm using. Because if I don't put it here, I'm going to forget. So I'm going to go to the top of my page if my Google Doc will allow me to. I'm going to double click on this header. In this box right here, I'm going to write down my strategy. My strategy is PRQAP. I'm previewing, reading, and gisting, answering the questions, or looking at the questions, answering the questions, and proving my answer. I'm going to do my first step. I'm previewing the text. This title says African Americans found opportunity in 1930s Russia. I know we're talking about 1930s. I know we're talking about African Americans. I know we're talking about Russia. This is a picture of an actual person. So this is a nonfiction text. So I'm going to go ahead and write right there. This is nonfiction. That helps me know what I'm reading. Now I'm going to read and gist. I'm only reading 1, 2, and 3 with you and writing your gist. You will read the rest of your text on your own. You will read the entire passage and write your gist because it's a non-negotiable. So it says, Moscow, growing up in Russia, then part of the Soviet Union, Amelia Teens Mensa did the same things other children did. She read the classics of literary master Alexander Pushkin and listened to the symphonies of Peter Tchaikovsky. She heard the propaganda that life here was better than anywhere else. In her home, though, there was also American jazz, Thanksgiving celebrations, and stories of the struggles facing Blacks in the United States. An improvised version of soul food sometimes replaced borscht or beet soup, the Russian favorite. That's because her father, George Teens, was an African-American agricultural expert from Virginia who moved to Russia in the 1930s. I'm going to write my gist. I'm going to make sure I have my beginning, middle, and end. I know in the beginning we talked about Amelia growing up in Russia. I know in the middle we talked about how she celebrated American culture in Russia. And I know at the end we learned that her father is African American and he immigrated to Russia because he moved from Virginia to Russia. I have that down as my gist. So now I have done my second part of my strategy. I've read and I've gist. Now I need to go down and I need to analyze my question. We are focused on question 1 and 3 We're going to do those together. You will analyze the other questions and answer them on your own. Question 1 says paragraphs 1 and 3 are mostly about. I'm going to highlight 1 and 3 because that tells me my focus. So I'm going to actually use the highlighting tool and I'm going to highlight paragraphs 1 and 3. Mostly about, I'm going to highlight that too because that's a key in my question that tells me that I am looking for the main idea of the text. This is part of me analyzing. Another thing I'm going to do that is real quick and easy is, since this is a main idea question, I'm going to copy my gist right here because I'm looking at my gist for my main ideas. So I'm going to copy the gist of 1, 2, and 3, and I'm going to just paste it by my question. So I'm just going to hit the word paste. Got it pasted right here. Now I'm going to figure out, I'm going to answer because that's my next step. I'm going to answer. So it says paragraphs 1 and 3 are mostly about Amelia grew up in Russia. She celebrated American culture and her father immigrated to Russia in the 1930s. So that means I need to find an answer choice that basically states these things. A says Amelia Mensa grew up in Russia reading classic Russian literature and listening to Russian music. Well, I have that she grew up in Russia, but I don't have the other things in this answer, so I can't choose it. I'm going to strike this out. B says the Times Holmes celebrated American culture even while in Russia. Well, my gist talks about her celebrating American culture, but it doesn't have the other parts of my gist. So I'm going to cross this one out as well because it doesn't have everything I need for my gist. C, Amelia Teens grew up in Russia. Well, my gist says that she grew up in Russia, so let me highlight that. As the child of an African-American immigrant who moved to Russia in the 1930s. Well, I did say her father immigrated to Russia, so she is the child of an African-American immigrant. That's another detail that was in my gist. So this might be our answer. Let me put a question mark because it has 2 details from our gist. B, George Teens, an African-American expert, immigrated to Russia in the 1930s. Well, it has that he immigrated to Russia, but it does not have the other details. So I can't choose this one at all. So that leaves me with C as my answer because C gives me at least 2 of my details from my gist. The other ones only gave me 1 detail. So I'm going to highlight C as my answer. Now I need to prove that this is my answer. I can literally prove this by highlighting what I found in my gist. My gist says Amelia grew up in Russia. That was in the text. She celebrated American culture. Her father immigrated. Those are 2 details that are in my answer choice that was also in my gist. I could go a step further by going up to paragraphs 1 through 3 and highlighting the actual text evidence that I use for my gist. Well, I have that she grew up in Russia. That's a piece of text evidence. And I also have that her father was African American and he moved from Virginia to Russia. So I can highlight that as well. I have answered my first question. Now moving to question 3. This is our other question we're focusing on. Question 3 says, read the dictionary entry below. Records. 1, pieces of evidence from the past official reports. 2, a person's achievements. 3, the best scores at event. 4, thin plastic discs with recorded sound, especially music. Which definition best fits how records is used in paragraph 6? So right now I am analyzing my question. I know we're focused on the definition, so I'm going to highlight that. Definition is the same thing as using context clues. So I'm going to write next to it. I'm going to pay attention to my context clues. I'm going to highlight the word records because that is an important word that I need to focus on. And I'm also going to highlight paragraph 6 because that is where we need to put our focus into paragraph 6. I'm also going to go ahead and just let myself know that this whole box is our dictionary. So next to it, I'm going to put in bold red letters, this is my dictionary. That way I remember that's where I'm finding my definitions. One thing I'm going to do for this question is I'm going to copy and paste paragraph 6 here because that's the question that's the paragraph I'm focusing on. So let me go ahead and copy and paste paragraph 6 there. This is something you should always do when you have a definition question or a dictionary question because it puts your text right where you need it. All right, so now let's pay attention to paragraph 6. Let me highlight records in paragraph 6 so I know. So it says, actually, I want to highlight it in blue because I want to match it. All right. Everybody who would come to Soviet Union from America, my father would tell them, please don't forget to bring me some records. Teens Mensa said he loved Ella Fitzgerald, Duke Ellington, Paul Robeson, but he also loved classical music and opera and ballet. What words in my text help me understand what records means? Well, I don't know who Ella Fitzgerald, Duke Ellington, or Paul Robeson is. I don't know who those are, but I know what classical music is. And I also know that there is such thing called a record player. And record players basically play music. So I need to find the definition that matches that because it says that he's having people bring him records. Those are physical things. That's where the music comes from. So I need to find an answer choice or a definition that supports that. One says pieces of evidence about the past. That does not talk about music. So I'm going to strike that one out. 2 says a person's achievements. That's not music either. So I'm also going to strike that out. 3 says the best scores at an event. That doesn't talk about music, so I'm going to strike that one out as well. 4 says thin plastic disc with recorded sound, especially music. Well, there we go. So that means that 4 is my answer. So I'm going to highlight my answer so Ms. Smith knows that that's the answer I chose. Perfect. So this is what you're going to do every single time you answer these questions. You are going to go back and you are going to read and write your gist for every single box. You must write your gist. It's a non-negotiable. Then you are going to go through and you are going to analyze the questions, highlighting the most important parts of the question. If it is a main idea question, copy and paste your gist there. If it is a definition question, copy and paste a paragraph there. This is a strategy that is going to help you because it's right there in your face. You are going to answer and prove your answer with text evidence. You should prove it by your gist. You should also prove it by going back to the text, highlighting important parts of the text, highlighting your context clues in the text. That is what I want to see you do. After you have answered all these questions on your Google Doc, you are going to click here and you are going to submit your answers into this Google form. So like question 1, I put the answer C. So that means I'm going to highlight C. Question 2, question 3, I picked the answer D. So I'm going to put D there. That's what I want y'all to do. This helps me and Mr. Smith quickly check your answers. That way you can take your exit ticket. Remember, we need to see your answers before you take your exit ticket. Good luck. Y'all got this. I can't wait to see what you do. Bye, guys.